What's going on, guys? Chandler here. So this is going to be my new segment on my YouTube channel called First Listen Review that is taken from my $5 tier full album reactions. So I react to the entire album, and then at the very end I give my overall thoughts and initial thoughts and a score on the album as a whole. So again, if you do like what you see and want to support the channel going forward, head over to patreon.com/ChandlerBurtonEntertainment. This is exclusive to the $5 tier. Again, you get a full album reaction, review, and a whole bunch of other perks as well if you guys are interested. And again, there's always a link down below in the description and in the pinned comment. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy the review, and thank you all so much for watching. And here's to another band who has not put out any music in forever, but a lot of people are really excited for. Again, I always do the Miss Mayak comparison where they were gone for like 5 years, and then they put out a really good album. But this band has been gone for 7 years. Their last album came out in 2016. I was 23 years old. I'm now going to be 30 this year. I'm 29 right now. It's just crazy how fast time has gone, but at the same time you realize, wow, these guys have not put out any music in forever. And as you can see right here, we are checking out the new album from Pierce the Veil entitled The Jaws of Life. We're gonna be checking out the entire album here today. Really excited, man. I really like these guys. Every time I listen to these guys, they just give me a really nostalgic feeling, because I remember seeing them at Warped Tour. I remember buying Collide, I believe it's called Collide with the Sky, at Hot Topic with my friend Kyle back in like 2012 when we were just a bunch of little emo boys. And so I absolutely love their music. It's always been the definition of fun. And I'm a true believer, like, if you're taking 7 years to make an album, I really feel like this album is going to be spectacular. And it sounds like I may be right, because every review that I've read have been given it like 9 out of 10. I think the lowest I saw was like a 7 out of 10, which is really, really good. So again, I'm really, really excited. I've become more of a casual fan over the years, but anytime I listen to them, I have a really good time jamming Pierce the Veil. So super excited to dive into it with you guys here. But as always, there's just a couple things. What I just realized as well is, like, honestly, 2023, there is some good music coming out this year, but it's been kind of trickling out a little bit slowly. Like, if I wouldn't have done Emarosa's album Staying a little while ago, this would have technically been my first album of the year, and it's like February 10th. So for me, music has been a little bit slow, but again, I'm still hopeful for 2023. There's a lot of albums that I'm really excited for. So, and this is actually one of them. Again, I'm very nostalgic for this band. Again, it just brings back good memories to my friend Kyle. So that really, helps me, like, just remember those good old days that we had when we were younger. And yeah, this was one of the albums I really was looking forward to here, so I'm really excited to check out the new Pierce the Veil album. It's about 41 minutes, so again, it's a little bit longer, but hopefully it won't feel that length. I'm usually good with albums that are like 30-ish minutes, but if it's good, it's good, and I'm all for it here. And again, I've only heard 2 songs from this album, which is Past Nirvana and Emergency Contact. Those are the only 2 songs I've heard and did reactions to, so brand new songs for me all around. So super excited to dive into it here. The first song is called Death of an Executioner, and again, we are checking out Pierce the Veil's album The Jaws of Life. Let's go ahead and pop it off here in 3, 2, and 1. First song's about 4.5 minutes long. So again, if you see me off to the side, I'm just taking some notes.
A few moments later.
Very interesting closer. To me, that was a little bit underwhelming. The closer was, but it wasn't a bad song, but just a little bit underwhelming in my personal opinion. But dang, man, we got done jamming the entire thing. I forgot to mention at the beginning, like, this band, there has been some controversy with this band. I know Vic's brother was the drummer, and he's no longer in the band, so like that's another thing. And then also, they went on tour with like I Prevail, and like Pierce the Veil played right before them, and then everybody left when I Prevail came on, because there's videos about it on the internet that I saw, which is crazy. So I know the reason why I say all that is that despite the fact that this band has been through so much, like with the drummer, whether that's true or not, I'm not entirely sure with the allegations that it was faced. And then people just like super excited to see them on tour again, and people just leaving after I Prevail, which is like the biggest band in the metalcore scene right now. A lot of people were excited for this album. Did it fulfill my expectations? Well, let's find out in the first listen review. I'm going to give that here, and that's going to be the next slide over, so stick around. That is coming up next. All right, my friends, so again, that was the band Pierce the Veil with their brand new, very, very anticipated album, The Jaws of Life. Now, we just got done listening to the entire thing here, and again, all the reviews that I read were saying this album is their best one yet. It's a 10 out of 10. Again, I said at the beginning, the lowest that I've saw was like an 8 out of 10, which is still really, really good. I don't know if I necessarily agree with everything that was in the reviews, but I will say that after 7 years, this album is really good. So again, I'm really excited to talk about here. We're going to talk about the pros, we're going to talk about my cons, my top 3 songs, and then I will give it a score at the very end. So as always, let's start with the pros. So I'd say pro number 1 for me, this may not be a pro for some people, but I'm going to consider it a pro, that this album really did make me feel nostalgic. As I said before, my friend Kyle and I used to listen to this band all the time, just had a good fun, riding around in the car, just singing these songs. And this album definitely made me feel like I was younger again, even though I guess I'm considered not really that old, but it made me feel like I was back in my early 20s or my teenage years, just jamming this stuff with my friend. And it really actually made me feel that way on a lot of the songs. I thought they were really, really cool, so I really like that aspect of it here. Like again, like their music is just so good, and I really, really love that. It made me feel nostalgic. Another thing that I really liked is that I really like Vic's voice. Now, I talked about it in one of the songs here. I'll kind of elaborate what I mean here. So Vic is obviously a really good singer. Like, his voice is a little more high pitched. Like, I can never hit the notes that he's hit. My voice just generally can't do that. But like, I was listening to like Bulls in the Bronx and like King for a Day, and like his voice seems a lot more like I don't know how to describe it. I guess more confident, I guess. Like, I feel like on this album he really toned it back. I don't know, just because they didn't make music for a while, but I don't know, there's something about his voice on this album that he just felt kind of nervous, but I really like that because it just felt more real. I don't know if that's going to make sense in the long run if I listen to this album again. Maybe it's just on the first initial listen that I felt that way, but again, I just felt like his voice just felt more real this time around, just because, I don't know, and some of the singing, he just felt nervous, but again, when you do something that's nerve-wracking, it just makes it more real, and I really, really like that in his voice. That's what I personally picked up, and overall, he's just a great vocalist. I also really, really like the songs and how each song kind of has like unique moments in them, whether it's like a blues section or kind of a heavy section, or whether it's Vic's voice that carries the song. There's always something a little bit different that adds a little flavor to each of the songs on this album. There are a couple of bland songs in my personal opinion, but overall it definitely has that feel of like having cool moments in each of the songs, and I really, really like that as well. And then the last thing I want to say for the pros is that the musicianship in this band is phenomenal. Every song is put together so well. These songs are literally like a journey. Like, there's really no like up and down. It's just like a straight through journey. And these guys have been doing it for so long, and it just felt like they never left. Kind of like what I said with Ms. May. Like, sometimes you worry when a band goes away for a long time, like, oh, they're just not gonna, it's not gonna be the same. But it sounds great. They did a good job. Everything is put together well, and I really, really enjoy the musicianship on this album. Now, I do have a couple of cons with this album here. So I'd say con number 1 is that some of the songs do have similar structures to them. Now, I said that each song has cool moments in them, and even songs that are kind of a little bit boring, like for example, 12 Fractures, the last song, a little underwhelming for me here. Nothing too crazy in that song, but each song either kind of started out the same, like kind of that Pierce the Veil like vibe, kind of like Death of an Executioner or So Far So Fake, or they have other songs on here that kind of just start soft and then they kind of build up to a bigger part at the very end. So it got a little bit predictable with the song structure as the album kept going on, in my personal opinion. Not that there's anything wrong with that here, but again, I would like a little bit more of a mix-up with these songs, in my personal opinion. The other thing that I would say about this album as well is that there are a few songs on here that that really lack the energy of what Pierce the Veil was back in the day. Now, I'm not saying that they need to go back and draw inspiration from their old sound. Like, bands are allowed to evolve their sound. They're allowed to do whatever they want. I think that's what's really cool about music and doing that as your job, is that you have the creativity to kind of do whatever, and I think that's a really cool thing. But there are just a few songs on here, like even honestly like Emergency Contact, in my personal opinion, which is one of the singles, it just didn't have that energy for me. Same with like 12 Fractures, like a couple other songs as well that I can't remember off the top of my head, really lacked the energy that I was kind of hoping more from this album. Again, it had enough, but I just wanted a little bit more. And then the last thing I was thinking about here is, would I go back and listen to this album like over and over and over after I'm done with this review? And honestly, I probably wouldn't. There are a few songs on here that I will definitely add to my personal playlist, and I'll just jam out too. But overall, man, I don't think I would go back. As I said, I used to be a really big Pierce the Veil fan, but now I've become more of a casual fan. It's not even because they left for like 7 years. I just kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say grew out of them, but I was very excited to jam this album, mainly for the nostalgic purpose. But I feel like if I didn't have any nostalgic with this band, I would probably have not listened to this album at all, which is just my personal opinion. But would I go back to it? There are a few songs that I definitely would, but overall, I probably wouldn't go back to the majority of this album. So my top 3 favorite songs from this album here, I would say number 1, I really like Flawless Execution. I don't know what it is, man. The chorus on that, the singing on it, I think that's a song where I mentioned that it sounded like Vic sounded like he was really nervous, and I don't know why I'm thinking that, but I really like that song. It just felt really good to listen to, just really chill. That one vibed with me the most. I think if anything, that would be the one I would vote for on the Patreon poll. I just really like how different it sounds, and I just really like the vibe of it here. Second one is Past Nirvana. I think, honestly, that song was so cool. Definitely, like, kind of a curveball for some people. I know a lot of people have said they don't really like that one, but for me, I thought it was super sick. It's definitely the heaviest song on the album, and I don't, like, necessarily love it because it's heavy. It just sounds really unique. Vic's voice really fits with it. It just sounds a little bit different than the rest of the album, so it makes it stand out. So I really like Past Nirvana. And then, honestly, So Far So Fake, that song really felt like old Pierce the Veil. Like, I felt like they really did draw some inspiration from some of their older stuff, and I really liked the one. The singing, the guitar work, like everything about it just felt really, that song made me feel really nostalgic. It made me rewind back when I was like 18 or 19 years old. Like, I really felt that. So those are my top 3 songs from The Jaws of Life. Again, overall, man, good album, but again, those are the 3 songs that stuck out to me. Overall, man, it was so nice to have Pierce the Veil back. It was so nice to have them create new music again after 7 years. I know if you're a hardcore, like, fan of Pierce the Veil, this is like the best day of your life. And they're a really popular band, so I completely see why people are over the moon, excited, and saying this is the best album that they've ever done, and that people are just absolutely loving this album. That's fantastic. I mean, for me, if Wage War or like Sleep Token disappeared for like 7 years, I would be devastated. And then when they put out new music, my life would be better again. You know what I'm saying? So I completely understand that if you are a Pierce the Veil fan. But for me personally, this album was just okay. I really liked parts of it. I think parts of it were really good, but it also for me had a little bit of those moments where I'm like, I'm not entirely sure this personally works for me here. It's definitely not a bad album. I would not go back and revisit a good chunk of this album. Again, the top 3 songs, there's a few other songs on there I probably would add to my playlist, like Death of an Executioner. That was a really cool song as well. I really enjoyed that one here. But overall, I'm not disappointed in it at all, but I'm also not like over the moon going to praise it, because that's just my honest opinion that I did not love this album like all the reviews have been saying it is here. So, as I did last time with Emerosa, I'm going to give the dreaded IGN score. I'm going to give Pierce the Veil, The Jaws of Life, a 7 out of 10. Again, I was not over the moon about it, but I don't think it was disappointing at all. I definitely had that sweet spot for a lot of people. And again, I really think if you're a huge fan of this band, you're going to be so happy that they're back. And it is really cool that they are back. And hopefully we don't have to wait 7 more years for the next album, because I am excited to see what these guys do next. Alright, my friends, well, thank you all so much for jamming Pierce the Veil's new album with me here, The Jaws of Life. Whether you love